I feel like Kendall right now. I'm in jubilation.
Yeah, Anthony, you're definitely a Kendall, I'd say.
Yeah, the drugs, the crying.
Yeah. The non-handling your emotions.
Yeah.
Wait,
Oh my
what is
goodness.
this now? What episode
Never,
is this?
never amounting to anything.
Oh,
my
no.
Lord.
Talentless.
Yeah, let's get it all out. Let's
so
get
far,
it all
so
out. It's
good. Go on.
I'm just gonna end this right now.
Hello and welcome to the movie podcast review of Succession, Season 4, Episode 1. My name is Daniel, I am one of your hosts today, and joining alongside me are my disgusting brothers. Anthony?
Oh, I was gonna say, like, don't call me a disgusting brother. I don't want to be a disgusting brother.
It's too late. You're part of it now. You're part of this disgusting brothership. How are you, Anthony?
You know, I am doing as well as the family of the Roys right now are at this last episode. I feel like Kendall right now. I'm in jubilation with all the things that have happened.
And the other disgusting brother, Shahbaz.
Hey, everybody. Yeah, Anthony, you're definitely a Kendall, I'd say.
Yeah, the drugs, the crying.
Yeah. The non-handling your emotions.
Yeah.
Oh my
what is
goodness.
this now? What episode is this?
Never amounting to anything.
Oh,
no.
Lord.
Talentless.
Yeah, let's get it all out. Let's
so
get
far,
it all
so
out. It's
good. Go on.
I'm just gonna end this right now.
Should we just end the recording
No,
now?
what? You're gonna end the recording, right? Just to be clear.
Oh yes,
The recording.
yes,
The
yes.
recording. Okay. Just want to be clear. Of course, this is our spoiler-filled discussion of Succession, Season 4, Episode 1. I want to say a huge thanks to our friends at Crave Canada for sending us the episodes to watch. We will be full-on spoiling everything up to this point in the Succession world, and then, of course, everything that happens in the first episode of Season 4. For myself, this is my first time going through the series, so I'm really excited for us to be all talking about it. I know, Shay's the same thing with you. You just recently finished going through the series. I know we've tried before, but, Anthony's been a big fan of the show. He's been a big Succession flag waver on the movie podcast, so I'm so glad that we were able to make this episode happen. But before we get to all of that, this is the movie podcast. You can catch brand new episodes all throughout the week and all the latest movies and series. We have weekly episodes as well, too, where we talk about all the latest the movie news, trailers. I was going to say news and movies at the same time, so it came out as move. So that's not it. Of course, you can follow us on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Letterboxd at The Movie Podcast. Check out our show notes below for all of those links and more. If you're watching this on YouTube, please like, subscribe, leave a comment below, and let us know what you're thinking of Succession Season 4, Episode 1 so far. And of course, join our Discord. We're having some great conversations in there. There's lots of conversations. There's lots of great interviews and reviews out right now on The Movie Podcast. So if you want to see everything that we have to offer, please go through our episode library, see if there's something there that you like, because there's lots of great episodes and lots more coming your way. But without further ado, let's get right into it. Succession, Season 4, Episode 1. We know this is the final season. And Anthony, there's no one better on this panel to kick us off with our discussion. Please take it away.
When I heard that this was the final season, and they did it in a different way. Usually, you kind of know. Either it was the final season. Going into this season, we thought there were going to be more seasons, and the show creators, they're like, yeah, you know what, this is it, and we wanted to tell this story because we want you to experience everything that we created. We didn't want to set up the expectation that this was the final season, which is really, really nice. But Succession, I do want to go over like a season 3 recap, because I know people who have been watching this show. It's been a couple of years. I feel like the last time we've seen this family was during COVID, and we patiently waited, and here we are. So season 3, great ending. Gojo proposition to buy Waystar, very, very cool. Kids aren't happy. Dad's doing the deal. They confront him. I remember that whole family gathering, and the father mimicking Shiv and basically had the upper hand because Tom, Fredo of the family, basically gives them up, saying, hey, Logan, your kids are on their way. You need to do something to kind of get this deal going and to secure Tom and even Greg their spot in the future of this company. And it's very unique. And with all said and done, I thought that was a very, very strong ending to season 3, because now you are leading up to what happens to the family. Clearly, this family's broken, and the shells of these kids, because of what they wanted to accomplish and becoming eventually the successor or the owners of this company, have now kind of dwindled. So where does this show go? And season 4 kind of picks up exactly, not right exactly at where it ended, but I want to say a couple of months, and they're kind of planning their whole life right now. Like the kids they're starting their own news corporation called the Hundreds, and Logan is very close to closing the deal with Gojo. And there's Connor, who wasn't part of that ending, but he wants to be president. I don't know. He has that 1%. I don't know where he's going to go with that. Spending another 100 million just for 1% and just for a conversation is unique. But we learned that a piece of the Succession history has kind of come back into the fold in this episode, and that is the acquisition of Pierce. Pierce was a big part of season 2. Logan didn't get it. He was frustrated. If you remember, if you go back and watch season 2, he wanted Pierce so bad. And here we are. Pierce is back on the table. He has the presidency. He's selling his company. He wants to buy Pierce. And where do we go from there? Very, very good opening. A lot of it's slow. It's a slow burn. And I was telling Daniel that as you go into this episode, if you watch it a couple of times, there's these little things that you miss that you will start to understand, like, oh shit, Tom, who clearly is estranged from his wife, calls Shiv to tell her that, hey, you might have seen me with Alana Pierce. It's not a relationship. We were just having drinks, but it's all this mind fuck that's happening.
There's so much mind
Naomi
games
Pierce,
there.
right?
Sorry, no, Naomi Pierce.
Naomi Pierce, not Alana Pierce.
From IGN,
who works
and
for
Tony
IGN.
Santa Monica.
Yeah, I was like, wait, Alana Pierce is in this? No, but it's funny though, because that conversation gave me super ick hearing it, because it's like there's such like a mind game going on there. It's like, yeah, you may hear this. I had to tell people it was this, but it's not actually this. And it's weird that you have like these two competing, figures now, where they were together, and then we'll get to their scenes at the end, which was very sad. It was a very sad moment towards the end of this episode, but it was really interesting, like seeing that phone call, seeing that happen, and Shiv just trying to process, like, what are you telling me? Like, what is happening? Like,
Right.
you need to come out and just tell me what you're telling me, because it seems like he's just stirring shit up right now.
Well, he's protecting this acquisition that is behind. It's a decoy. I'm going to pretend to be in a relationship or have this relationship because someone took a photo of me, but I don't want to tell you, and I don't want you to because they want to close this deal. So good. And I didn't get that the first time, and I had to rewatch it again, and that's when I understood, oh, this was all a ploy. And man, just again, Logan Roy, Brian Cox, fantastic. He does the job so well. And I think this episode's called The Munsters. And he's like,
The Munsters, yeah.
The fucking Munsters. And it's just, he's so disconnected with everything that's happening. It's his birthday in this episode, and he just wants to close these deals. He wants ownership of Pierce. He wants this to be his thing. But yeah, such a great.
But it's funny though that he called it. It's funny that he calls it the Munsters though, because they really are, like, when you see who's in his circle now, you're just like, yeah, what a random ass bunch of people that you wouldn't have expected to be in the room with him. And I even love that when I think he misses his family in a sense in that scene too, where he's asking everyone to roast him, because he's now surrounded by, like, Logan Roy's just surrounded by a group of people who are scared of him and want to, I guess, have his attention and his competency, but
They're
also,
constantly
like, they're
seeking
not
his approval.
right. So they're not giving it back to him, and I think Logan needs that, right? He needs to have what his kids were doing, whereas, like, they'll tell you to F off if they need to.
No, I really felt that with this episode. I mean, I think the beginning kind of did start off a little slow, in my opinion. I felt like we were kind of getting back into the groove of things. And then when it picks up this episode, it really picks up. There's a lot of the stuff that starts to kind of, come down to it. I love the toxic and awful relationship that Kendall and his siblings have. Like, There's such awful people. Like, there's no one in this show that I kind of root for. Like, everyone in this show, I'm just like watching as a fly on the wall, like a really poor fly on the wall. But I do like my favorite characters in this show will always be Tom and Greg, because I love their relationship, and I love in this episode how they're kind of going back and forth. They're having their own sidebar conversation about uh Greg hooking up with his date in one of the rooms, and in the cameras, Logan watches it at night, and
Yeah.
whether that's true or not, it's still funny that Greg has to be put in this position of where he has to tell Logan Roy, of all people, what he did. And I love that callback at the end where Logan's like, "Hey, anyone want to smell Greg's finger and kind of tell me what it smells like?"
Yeah, for a buck.
It's so horrible. It's so funny, but like those characters are the ones that I continuously continue to watch, and I really hope that whatever happens with Shiv, whatever happens with Kendall, it really picks up in something that I think is going to be really nasty. I think.
No, I agree. Like that is, I think I don't know where this show ends, and I know there is going to be a successor. Hopefully, there is a successor. I just don't know like where it's going to go and who's going to be sacrificed in this whole thing, because it is going to get nasty and it's going to get dirty, because that's the world that we want. I think the creators know that, and I think we as the audience want that as well.
You want the drama, right? You want the drama.
We want the
in an
drama.
episode like
There
this.
and I don't know who is what or what at the end of this series, especially with the ending with the Pierce potentially being sold to the kids, because all this is really like talk. But if it's, and we haven't watched episode 2, but if they actually succeed in beating their father for the first time, like where does this season go? It's absolutely wild.
There's one of my favorite lines in the show. Again, Logan Roy is just filled with gem quotes throughout the series. But I love when they're working on getting Pierce, and Pierce is also just playing very just like coy with it too. Obviously, as you do in business scenarios, you're not giving away, you're not showing your cards. But I love when they finally get to the number, and the siblings are all debating it. And they're just like, well, like, why don't we just do 9.5? It's like, well, we need to do 10 just because it's gonna look better. Even though it's an extra $500 million, right there. I love that argument between them about all this money. And I just love how at the end of it all, Logan just calls them, and it's just like, congratulations on saying the biggest number, you fucking morons. And it's just again, like, it's just such this cat and mouse game all the time. You never know where this is going to go. And like Anthony said, we haven't seen the next episode. So I'm really curious, is this still going to go through? Is this just a ploy for them to, for Logan to, come in and then actually take Pierce? Like, we don't know what's going to happen yet. So there's a lot of, wheeling and dealing going on right now.
And like, do we think that Kendall can separate that complex that he has for his father? Like, is this actually something that is not going to fold in his face? Is he going to commit to it? Because throughout the seasons, you've seen it back and forth that Kendall, yes, he at the end of season 2, he becomes the killer,
Mhm.
but does he commit to it? Does it go on, or will he fold at a certain point? So I think that's the fear that Roman consistently has throughout this episode as well. It's like, do I trust Shiv? Do I trust Kendall? I mean, they don't even trust each other, which is so bizarre, but they're trying to create this whole new news network. So it's very, I'm just kind of waiting on bated breath right now. Like, what happens next? Like, Kendall's the one that I'm always the most interested in. So I'm kind of wondering, what is his next move or play going to be? Because he really is kind of just at any point going to snap, I think.
Yeah, because he's very just like almost like stoic in this episode. There's not a lot for him to do in this episode. It's a lot of sitting around. It's a lot of, like Shay said, waiting on bated breath. Like, what is going to happen next? So I think as the season's going to go on, we're going to see that killer come back, like we've been seeing throughout the course of the season appearing. But I really do think it's going to end in blood this season. I really do.
And the vibe that they give off as like this family and these kids, especially in the beginning, is like, they're not committed to the 100. They're not committed to their own news, or because they are so worried that one of them is going to flip. And it must be so sad to be in a world where you can't even trust your brother and sister because they've cried wolf so many times in front of you, and you have to them.
Right.
And it's just this snake biting back and forth, and all because the king pit you together to do this.
Yeah.
Like Logan is the reason why these kids are the way they are, right? He's created that environment for them. This is all they know. And it's like, who do I trust? Who can I trust? Who, like, where do I go? And even when they're together, you're just like, man, I don't know if this is gonna last or not. And at the end of this episode, with this acquisition, you're just like, I just have a bad feeling because nothing ends well for them, you know?
Yeah. It's funny though, because you love seeing the siblings together. Like I love seeing the siblings on the same side, right? I like seeing that. I want to see them take down their father, but I'm also like, but what happens if he's like he's not going to take this line down? Like I think he's gonna break the siblings up. And do you guys think it's going to be like who do you think it is going to be the eventual successor? Like, are you thinking Kendall? Are you thinking Shiv? Are you thinking Roman? Like, who do you think is going to get it? Do you think it's going to be one of those three, or do you think it's somebody else outside of the sibling group?
I think for me, it's gonna be someone outside. And I think it's Carrie. I don't know. I just get this vibe. This is the first time we actually see Carrie a lot, and she has a lot more to say, and her character really shines in this episode, and her demeanor, and how she's very calculating and precise, and she clearly comes from an environment where she wants this and this world, but she never came from this world. So she probably had
Right.
a lot of like I struggles to get to this point. And I can see her being the successor just because she's
Interesting.
friend, advisor, assistant, and the kids treat her like shit because they think she is something else, but she's playing a game as much as everyone else is playing the game. And
Oh
Carrie
yeah.
Carrie does a fantastic job of being the another snake, but someone who's not as vocal as everyone else. And usually the quiet ones are the ones that strike the hardest.
It's true. That's true. That's what we always say here on the movie podcast. Shay, how about yourself? Who are you thinking is going to be the ultimate successor of
You
this all?
know, I there was so much of me that wanted to first, like, for a long period of time, I definitely thought Shiv had it in her to become the next, successor here, but she showed it off really poorly in season 2, that when the opportunity is kind of given to her, how she can completely fumble. And I mean, Kendall, I think Kendall needs to just do his own thing. Like at the end of the day, he needs to be his own CEO for his own company, start from the ground up, because the attachment that he has to his family is never propelling him forward. And then obviously Connor will just forget he's on his own path and on his
Yeah.
own journey.
Yeah.
Roman could be that weird twist. I think that could work, and I think they could play it really well because you know, he has that in him that he could actually pull it together if he really, really needed to, if push came to shove. But I agree 100% with Anthony, especially in that phone call that Roman has with Carrie on the phone, and how he's completely just treating her like garbage, and she's handling it so diplomatically. And it was that moment that I was like, oh man, that's like a CEO kind of diplomat right there. Like the way she's handling, the way that she's reverberating everything back to him. I'm like, she's so media trained. She's so calculated with what she's saying. I can totally see it being her because her title already is so ambiguous as it is, that the grooming aspect of it can totally work, and you make this no longer a family business and kind of leave the family out to dry.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of different ways you could go, and I'm in the same camp as you guys. I think if it was to go to someone in the family, I feel like Shiv would be, Shiv would make sense. But if we are looking outside, I'm like, yeah, like if we're looking at Carrie, or like who even knows? Like what if cousin Greg's coming in? What if he's going to be
Cousin
like,
Greg.
cousin Greg? I mean, like he's one of the first characters we're introduced to at the very beginning too. And after everything, like, could you imagine if it ended up going to a cousin instead of a daughter or a son?
Greg is
Right?
too much of a coward. Like you can clearly see it even when he had to he was supposed to tell his girlfriend or whoever he brought to the party to like leave. He didn't even want to do that. So
No.
it's like, sure, I could see it, but he's not strong enough. And I wonder, where Tom, lies in all this. He has this
Yep.
conversation with Logan about what it would like for him if he and Shiv divorced. Where
Hmm.
where where does he lie? And I think Tom he's very emotional. I think we know that from the ending of this episode.
Mm-hmm.
He's sympathetic. He has empathy. He's not like them, but he also puts on this front like he's like them as well.
Right. Yeah.
And I wonder where.
Great moment at the end, though. That's one of my favorite moments of this episode, is Shiv and just Tom just laying on that bed and both just kind of defeated of where they are and what life has brought them to this moment.
Yeah.
And they just have that quiet moment of lying beside one another. I thought that was a really nice, sad moment, but a nice moment in this episode.
Yeah, it's such a shitty like experience to be in a relationship where it's open or there's this ambiguity of where you lie in it. And I think as Tom, he really loves Shiv, and I think Shiv, she that's the running joke. She never said I love you. She never really referred to him
Right.
as the love of her life, and it was always this, yeah, I love you, yeah, let's have kids. Like it's never been like this partner in crime type of thing, and it sucks for Tom. But then also Tom is who he is. He got where he got because he's not the greatest guy. But I wonder where
Right.
his legacy lasts in this season, because he is the one who made that deal with Logan. He is the Fredo,
Right.
as I said. He kissed the friggin' gave him the kiss of death, and that's why
Yeah.
they're all in this situation too. So
Yeah, he shook hands with the devil, so we're gonna see how it plays out. And again, season 4, this is the very ends of the road. I'm really excited to see how this is all going to unfold. We will be back. If you like these episodes, if you want us to do more Succession, let us know. Give us the views so we can continue on, talking about this season. We'll definitely, even if it's not weekly, we will definitely have an episode to recap everything that happened this season for the finale. So there's lots more Succession conversations to be had. Any other final thoughts before we wrap up this episode and we succeed to the next episode of the show? Looks like we're good. We're getting all nods here. So, of course, this is the movie podcast. This was our spoiler-filled discussion of Succession, episode 1 from season 4. Thank you again to our friends at Crave for sending us the episodes for review. We love working with them, and we'll hopefully have lots more coming your way. This is the movie podcast. You can catch brand new episodes of our show all throughout the week with reviews and interviews and all the latest movies and series. Make sure you follow us on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Letterboxd at the movie podcast. Join our Discord and subscribe. Leave a comment and like this video if you're watching it on YouTube. That was this time with the movie podcast, and we'll see you next.